मैडम होस्ट कर रही थी मैं।
All right, thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you all can hear me clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. And you can see the screen as well. So we will take a couple of minutes until see whether anyone else will join, and then we'll start. Okay. So good evening to everyone. So we will start our lecture today. on the work breakdown structure. So I'm sure in the beginning lectures, you might have discussed about the project planning process. And one of the main activities and one of the most important activities that we do in terms of project management is developing this work breakdown structure. And this becomes the basis for a lot of the more detailed planning that we do in any project. So in this lecture, after this, you will be able to know why we use a work breakdown structure, what is the purpose of it, how do we produce it, how do we apply and use it, and how we can break down a typical project into tasks at an appropriate level. And we need to discuss why a WBS needs to be dynamic in nature. So if you have mastered this topic, you will be able to use the following terms correctly in your assignments and exams. So you will know what is meant by a project, what is meant by WBS elements, what is a work package, what is an activity, and then what is a task, right? So you will learn what each of these terms mean. Okay. So when we take the project planning framework, we usually will have 5 things that we do in the planning framework. So first of all, we need to establish why is the project needed. So the result of this phase will be the project charter. The project charter will tell us what you are going to do in the project, why you are doing it, right? And who are the main stakeholders likewise. The second step is we need to know what needs to be done, right? So this is where the work breakdown structure comes into play, right? So in this phase, when we want to define what needs to be done, we use the work breakdown structure to show the work that we are going to perform within the project. And when will they do the work? This will be covered in the scheduling part. And who is going to do this? It will be done in the project organization, and the cost of each activity of the, say, the project. This will be done in the budgeting section. So in the project management processes of initiation, right? The initiation starts with the project charter, right? Where we will have in the project charter, you will have a project scope statement, right? And here the scope of the project will be defined, right? You will mention what is inside the scope as well as what is not included in the scope clearly. So when you identify what your scope is or what are the main deliverables, what you are going to do within the project, this information will be used in order to develop the work breakdown structure. So your work breakdown structure then again will be used in order to develop the cost estimates, the time aspects, the activity diagrams likewise, as well as the human resource plans as well, right? So you will also need to consider the quality, the risk, the communication, procurement, as well as the integration of the knowledge areas as well. Right. So what is this work breakdown structure? So our work breakdown structure will basically tell us what are the tasks that needs to be completed so that we can deliver what the project is expecting, right? So what do we have to do in order to come up with the deliverables of the project, right? So here these tasks that we have to perform needs to be arranged in a hierarchy of broad categories of work, right? Sometimes based on the deliverables, sometimes based on the stages that we have in the project, right? And then and each of these broad categories then will be broken down into specific work tasks. So our work breakdown structure basically will illustrate what is within our project scope. It will help us to further define what our project scope is. So when we are describing the project subcomponents, when we are describing what work subcomponents we have in our project, there are two ways that we can do this. We can talk about them as activities, like using verbs. Say, for example, we can say install new plumbing. So this is something that we do. It is based on the verbs, right? Or we can also describe it based on the deliverables. That means we use it as a noun. We can say new plumbing. Okay. So there are two ways that we can describe the subcomponents inside a of the work breakdown structure. So our work breakdown structure is usually done within the create. You have an activity called create work breakdown structure. There are 3 inputs that we have to use when we are creating the work breakdown structure. The first one is the project scope statement, right? So the project scope statement will tell us what are the say the activities, what are the main deliverables that we are focusing on in this project. Then you have the requirements documentation, right? The documents about the customer requirements or the project requirements. And then you have the organizational process assets. So you will have information about the assets or say the resources that the organization has. So after you, as an output of this process, you will have your work breakdown structure, which will tell you how each main deliverable or each main stage in your project is going to be broken down further into much smaller tasks. And you have the work breakdown structure dictionary. Then you have the scope baseline and the project document updates. And as tools and techniques that are going to be used in this stage, we will be using the technique of decomposition, which means we are trying to break down our broader activities into much say specific activities within our project. So this is called decomposition. Okay. So our work breakdown structure, why we develop this is going to be used in order to produce a lot of the subsidiary plans in our project management plan, right? Say, for example, as we discussed, the work breakdown structure will be an input when we are developing the budget for our project, right? When we come up with the human resource plans, when we come up with the time plans, right? We need to use this work breakdown structure. So our work breakdown structure, we say, is deliverable oriented, right? What do you mean by deliverable oriented? So deliverable oriented means that this WBS is going to be created based on the main deliverables of the project. we look at the main deliverables of the project, and then based on those deliverables, we are going to create the WBS. And this is a hierarchical representation as well, right? We show it as a hierarchy. I'm sure I will show you some examples of the WBS, then you will understand what I say. But I'm pretty sure you know what a hierarchical representation is. You might have seen the organization structures and so on. So that those are hierarchical representation. So down in the hierarchy, you will get more decomposed project components that will organize and define the total scope of your project. So your WBS will represent the detailed project scope statement, and it will specify what work needs to be completed inside the project. Right? So the elements that you have in the WBS will help the stakeholders of the project to see what is the end product of the project, right? They will be able to clearly see what the project is going to deliver to them. And the work at the lowest level of the WBS is estimated, and it will be scheduled, and it will be tracked. So we'll talk about the lowest level further. Right? So our work breakdown structure, as I said, it is a hierarchical representation of our activities, and it starts with the major project areas to be accomplished, and then it will be broken down into the actionable pieces of work, right? So you will be segmenting the elements into appropriate sub-levels. Right? So this is a very powerful concept and tool, and you need to, it will follow the logical arrangement of the tasks that you have within a project. So you need to have an appropriate level of detailing in the work breakdown structure, which means if you do not detail it enough, if you have not broken down the components to a sufficient level, then it is going to be difficult for you to manage the lowest level of the activity of the WBS, right? And you need to have an appropriate number of levels, right? And so this is you can show this as a graphical representation of the project scope. So this is a foundation document that we use in project management, because this will be the basis for all the planning and managing and the project schedules, costing, and all the changes that you will be doing in your project scope as well. Okay, so this is basically what we mean by a work breakdown structure. Do you have any questions up to now? We will go into detail when we talk about how we can develop a work breakdown structure later on. But up to now, do you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to clarify? If you have questions, you can type it in the chat box as well. Please feel free to ask any questions at any time. It's okay. You can put it in the chat box. So when I see it, I will try to answer them as soon as possible. No? No questions? Okay. So let's continue. So next we will take a look at how we can develop a work breakdown structure. So there are several approaches that can be used when we are developing a work breakdown structure. The first one is using guidelines. So in some organizations, like maybe government organizations, they can provide guidelines on how the managers should prepare the work breakdown structures. So they will have to follow these guidelines when they are developing the WBS. So there is an example of these guidelines. It is on the in the Google Classroom. There is a guideline provided by the Department of Defense in US. So they have mentioned and they have specified how the work breakdown structures should be developed. So this is one approach, right? When you are given a specific guideline, you will have to use it. The second approach is what we call the analogy approach, right? So in analogy approach, what you do is you look at the work breakdown structures of similar projects, right? So you might have similar looking projects that you have done earlier, and you have their work breakdown structures. So you can take a look at these work breakdown structures, and based on them, according to that, you can develop the work breakdown structure of your new project. So you can look at them, and according to your project, you can do some changes in the WBS. Okay, so this is called analogy approach. So you look at how the WBS has been developed in the past, and based on that, you kind of follow the same format and tailor those to your new project. Then you have the top-down approach, right? So the top-down approach is where you start with the largest item of the project, and then you try to break them down into smaller subcomponents, right? So this is the most popular method, especially when you don't have much experience about a certain kind of project. People tend to use this top-down approach. So you start with the largest items. You have the project at the very top, right? And then you will break it down into broader categories based on the deliverables in most cases. And then you will try to break down those broader categories even further. So this is called a top-down approach. Then you have the bottom-up approach, right? You start with detailed tasks, then you roll them up, right? You start at the very bottom, you identify what are the detailed tasks that you have to do in order to complete the project, and then you can group them into different kind of broader areas. Then the final one is the mind mapping approach, right? So mind mapping approach is where you write down the tasks in a non-linear format, right? There is no particular order. You just write it down in a different format, and then you try to put them in order and create the work breakdown structure. So your mind mapping approach, this is something that this is kind of something that it will look like this. So you have the project in the middle, you have main task 1, main task 2, main task 3, 4, likewise. So main task 1 will have subtask 1, subtask 2. Then subtask 1 will have deliverable 2, likewise. So there is no particular order, right? So you will just, first of all, on this mind map, you will put on what are the tasks, what are the subtasks and deliverables likewise. And then you will transfer this into the work breakdown structure. Okay, a little bit about the WBS roll up, right? We talked about the bottom up approach, the roll up. So roll up means it is a process of estimating from bottom up to the project level. So we start at the primary, like the lowest level in the WBS, and we come up with the estimates, and then we calculate them upwards so that you can calculate the total cost or duration of the entire project, right? So rolling up is like you are aggregating the cost and duration for every level up to the top. Okay. So it can be, you will have estimates for bidding, you will have the initial planning estimates, and you have the actual values, estimate of actual differentials, high level cost controls, right? And then the roll up is useful when you have a decomposition strategy, when you are depending on the decomposition strategy. Okay, so let's look at a few examples of WBS here. The first example, it is a very simple one of going on a holiday, right? Your project is going on a holiday. Okay. So what do you have to do when you are going on a holiday? What are the main things that you have to do? First of all, yes, you will have to arrange your travel documents, right? Yeah, so you have to do your bookings, maybe the hotel or the resort that you're going to, maybe the transportation, right? You have to do your bookings. And then you have to do something about the household. You have to make sure that your household is going to be safe during your holiday. Okay. So these are the main three broader areas that you have to be concerned about when you are going on a holiday. Okay. So once you identify these main three tasks, main three broader areas, we can decompose this even further. So for travel documents, what do you need to do? You have to look whether, you have to check your passports, you have to book your tickets, and you have to think of buy travel insurance, right? And then when you are booking the resort, you have to choose the resort, right? You have to choose the resort, and then you have to confirm the booking. So when you are choosing the resort, there is something further that you have to do. That is why we go another level down, right? When you are choosing the resort, you have to look at brochures and make a selection, right? So you need to collect the brochures, go through them, and then choose at the resort. Then when we come to the household, okay, there is only one concern, that is the cat. What are we going to do about the cat? So you have to think about how you're going to make sure that the cat is being fed and looked after. So this is a very simple scenario, right? Where you have broken down the holiday into different to the subcomponents. So let's take a much more business-oriented example, right? Say you have a electronic commerce banking project, right? So what are the things that you have to do under this project? So here they have taken the main phases of the project as the broader areas, right? So at the first stage, you have the initializing and the conceptualizing of the project. So this is where you will develop the business case. Then you have the project charter and plan. You will develop the project charter and the project plan. Then you have the execution of the project plan and control. Then you have the closing of the project, where you will talk about develop the final project report and formal acceptance documentation. Then you will evaluate the success of the project through project evaluations and lessons learned, right? So when you come to the execute and control, there are further steps that there are a lot of steps that you need to follow. So under execute and control, you will be doing the analysis of the system, right? So you will develop a strategic electronic commerce plan and the system proposal. Then you design the system, which will have the logical design and the technical design. Then you will do the actual construction of the electronic commerce system, application system. Then you will do the testing, where you will have the test plan and the test results. And then you will do the implementation, right? So where you will complete the documentation, you will conduct training programs and any conversion plans. Okay. So here you can see how the broader areas have been decided based on the stages of the project. Another example here is for an intranet project. So in our WBS, we have to decide, we have to separate or develop a WBS so that there are several levels, right? So the level 0 is the entire project, right? So level 1 will be the broader areas. Level 2, you will see a much bigger composition. Then level 3, you will have more smaller, say what we call work packages. So when you come to that work package level, we can stop there or we can go one step further as well. So in the intranet project, we have several say stages again. You have the conceptualization, the website design, website development, then the rollout, and then support. So these are the stages of the project. Then when the conceptualization, when we come to the second level, there are several say work elements that you have to do. You need to evaluate the current system, define the requirements, define specific functionality, define the risk and risk management, develop the project plan, brief the web development team. And for each of these, you can go to the next level. So the level 3 here, we have taken the define requirements, right? So when we say defining requirements, we have to define the user requirements, what are the content requirements, what are the system requirements, and the server or owner requirements. Okay. So we start from level 0, which is the entire project, and then we can break down into several levels. So the number of levels will tell us how detailed our WBS is, right? So if we have about 10-15 levels, it is going to be difficult for us to manage the project. If we have 10-15 levels, that means there are we will have a lot of work elements, or what we call work packages, at the last level, right? So that is going to be very difficult to manage. But if we have a few levels, like 4 to 5 levels, maybe that would be much manageable. But if we don't have much levels, like if you have only if you have only 1 or 2 levels, then it is a sign that our project has not been significantly decomposed. You have to decompose the work much further, right? So you have to make sure that you have the appropriate number of levels, that you have achieved, that you have broken down the project into the required level. Then another example is about filling a vacant position within an organization. So when it comes to filling a vacancy, there are 3 aspects. You have the job, right? You have the candidate, and then you have the selection, right? So when you talk about the job, right, you have to look at the need for the job, and then you have to look at the job specification. So when you talk about the need of the job, we are talking about the budget. You look at the options, you look at the approval that you get from the top management. Then the job specification will include what the job is, what is the timing, what type of a person or what type of skills are required, right? Then the second one is about the candidates. So what you have to do with the candidates? You have to attract the candidates and then you have to shortlist. So to attract the candidates, what do you have to do? You have to decide on the advertising content and where you are going to advertise. Where are you going to advertise in order to attract the suitable candidates? Then once you get the applications, you have to shortlist. So in order to shortlist, you need to have certain shortlisting criteria. You have to review the CVs that you receive and then come up with the shortlisted candidates. So once you come up with the shortlisted candidates, you can do the actual selection. So for the actual selection, you will be conducting an interview and then you will have the post selection, what you're going to do after you select the person to fill the vacancy. So for the interview, you have to decide what is the venue, right? Who is going to interview, how are you going to interview them, and the tour, and then you have to make a decision about who is the most suitable. So once you decide the person who is filling the vacancy, you can talk about the terms and conditions with that person. You can have an induction program for the person that you have selected. And if the person needs to relocate, you can help them with the relocation as well. Yeah. Any questions up to now on any of the examples that we talked about? And about creating the WBS. There are some more examples. I will talk about them, but up to now, do you have any questions? Like there are no questions. Okay, let's look at another example. So here you are developing a new car, right? So when you are developing a new car, what are the main control account? What are the main things that you have to look at? You can look at the entertainment and guidance systems. Then you have the engine, the transmission, and the suspensions. Then you can look at the body, right? So these can be identified as the control accounts of the project. Then you can break down the engine, transmission, and suspension further. You can have the gearbox acquisition, the engine, suspension and running gear, the differentials, right? And then when it comes to the body, you can look at the paint work and the body shell. So these are the planning packages. And then these planning packages can be broken down further. So for example, if we take the suspension and running gear, we look at the active suspension, the drive shaft, and the wheels, hubs, and tires. If we take the body shell, we have to look at the monocoque shell, the doors, the seats and the interior trims, the exterior trim and the glass. So this is the lowest level of our WBS. So these are the work packages. This is what we call the work packages. Okay, so the top one, the one above, these are called planning packages. The lowest level is what we call the work packages. Okay. So I have another example here. We have so a WBS can be shown in point form like this as well. So you can see that the first point is the redecorate room. So this is the main project, right? Then you have four broad areas here of preparing material, prepare the room, paint the room, clean up the room. So when you talk about preparing material, what do you have to do? Under this, you will have buy paint, buy a ladder, buy brushes, wallpaper remover. Then when you're preparing the room, you remove the old wallpaper, remove detached decorations, cover the floor with old newspapers. Then in cleaning up the room, under that you have dispose or store the leftover paint, clean the brushes, dispose the old newspapers and remove covers, right? So this you can show a WBS in this manner as well. So I'd like to give you a small activity, right? I want you to put this, what you have here, into a hierarchical or the graphical type of representation that I showed you in the previous examples. Can you take about 10 minutes and try to draw this, and then you can send it to me through the chat box. Take about 10-15 minutes for that. Is the assignment clear? Do you have any questions? You can type, please, you're type in the chat box if you have any questions, or if you don't have any questions, you can say it's clear. So I want you to convert this into a graphical WBS that you saw in the previous example. Madhusha, any questions? Huh? Madhusha, your mic is on. Okay, I received only one answer. How about the others? Still working on it? Okay, take about another 5 minutes and try to complete and send it. Okay, I have received a few answers. So you have done it, all the answers that I got right now, they have done it correctly. So that's good. Others, please try to send it in as soon as possible. So in the meantime, I have a small video that I want you to take a look at. Let me share it with you and then we can, we'll discuss. Can you all hear the sound? Of the video? Okay, right. So let me play it.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Witt, Director of ProjectManager.com. Well, welcome to our whiteboard session today on what is a work breakdown structure. So a lot of times we get questions from the forum and other sources of people calling in really trying to understand what the work breakdown structure is. And there's so much confusion out there because it gets tied into maybe a software tool or other aspects, and people can't determine what's the difference between that and a schedule and other parts of the project. So I want to take the time out on this whiteboard session just to clarify what the work breakdown structure is. Well, you know me, I'm big on terms and I like to be clear and go forward on a real definition of terms. So a lot of times you'll see me on the whiteboard sessions reference my good friend Google. Well, in this case, I'm referencing a guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge by PMI, and this specifically is the edition. You can reference other project management sources of your own that you may use and prefer instead, but this is mine. So what PMI and the Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge, the PMBOK guide, says a work breakdown structure is a deliverable-oriented hierarchical decomposition, so we're breaking something apart, of the work to be executed by the team to accomplish the project objectives and create the required deliverables. Many times I see the teams get confused because they lose essence of why are we doing this project? And specifically the reason we're doing a project is to produce the deliverables. So this is a very important piece. And if you can create a work breakdown structure from the beginning and identify the deliverables being produced when, then a picture truly is worth 1,000 words for not only you, the project manager, but your team. It sets the vision again for the project objectives. So let's take a look at the purpose. The purpose, again, is to organize and define the total scope. So the scope is comprised of the deliverables. So this hierarchical decomposition of the work, it looks like this. Here's a graphical picture. So here's just generically, you can take this generic hierarchical structure and begin breaking it down for your own. So here's a project, and in this specific one, you may work on projects that include phases. So there may be a phase 1, phase 2, or other multiple phases. This one has 2 phases and a deliverable, a main high-level deliverable produced. And this also has sub-projects. So this also can include sub-projects that are broken down as well. But if you look at phase 1 and break down this has 2 deliverables beneath the phase. So it's producing 2 main deliverables. And so we look at what's the work required to produce these deliverables. So we keep breaking it down. We break it down to the work to be executed. So work is executed by work packages. So this deliverable 1 is broken down to other sub-deliverables, and which are broken down eventually to work packages. And remember, your team members are completing work packages that produce these deliverables. And again, this can continue to be broken down. But this simply is a work breakdown structure. I think it's very important to understand the definition and the structure, the purpose, and how we do this. Truly, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I hope this one helps you for your teams and your projects. At ProjectManager.com, we believe firmly in work breakdown structures and that they do and can create a picture that's worth 1,000 words for you and your team. So if you need a tool that can help you.
Okay. So I think that basically gave you an idea about what this WBS is and how we are developing it. So let's continue from that point onwards. Right. Right. So when we are developing a WBS, what are we doing? We divide the total work of our project into major groups. And then we try to subdivide these groups into tasks. And then the tasks are again divided into subtasks. So when we come to the subtask level, this subtask should be small enough. Sorry. The subtask should be small enough to make sure that a manager can easily control it, and the work that is being done under this subtask, it needs to be easily visible. But of course, you have to make sure that you are avoiding any bureaucracy as well. Okay, so you have so the subtask, if I give you a definition kind of, right? So it will be the smallest element of work which can be easily controlled and managed by a person. Okay. Right. So in our work breakdown structure, there is another version of this, which we call the product breakdown structure. Right. So in this product breakdown structure, we focus on the final product that you are delivering to the customer, not on the work that you have to do, right? So if we take the same example of redecorating the room, right? Our product breakdown structure will look like something like this. So you will have the old wallpaper removed, right? You can have another product is the clean room, right? Then the third one is the paint. Fourth one is the management products that you need in order to manage this process, right? So when you say clean room, you need covers for furniture, you need covers for electrical switches, and you need newspapers to cover the floor. In terms of paint, you need paint on the wall, and you will have the leftover paint as well. For management products, ladders and the brushes and rollers that you're using for the painting, right? So this is the nature of the product breakdown structure. So you can see how when we come to the items, we are writing in terms of nouns, in terms of what are the things that we need. Okay, not in terms of verbs. That means we are not talking about what we have to do, but we are talking in terms of what the outcome should be. So and you also have something called the scope breakdown structure, right? So in a scope breakdown structure, we have to show graphically discrete components, and this is going to be time. You will have time-based phases and stages, right? And you will focus on the intermediate or the final major deliverables that you have to show, right? So scope breakdown structure can be will be kind of can be developed as the first step before the work breakdown structure, right? So this is an example of the scope breakdown structure you should use according to the Max Weidman theory, right? I'll take the same example of redecorating the room. So in this one, you will have the noun phrases in the top level. That means the scope breakdown, and the activities in the lower levels, right? So if you have redecorated room, you have the painted wall. So under painted wall, you have the activities. In order to paint the wall, what do you have to do? You have to buy the paint, you have to buy the ladder, buy brushes and rollers, and then paint the room. If it is new curtains, what do you have to do? You may have to measure for the new curtains, select patterns, select colors, then give it for, say, the tailoring, and then put the curtains. Okay. So if we say a clean room, in order to get a clean room, what do you have to do? You have to cover floor with old newspapers, cover the electrical outlets, cover furniture with sheets, likewise, right? So at the top level, you will have noun phrases. At the lower levels, you will have activities or the verbs coming in. So this is how we show a scope breakdown structure. Okay. Right. So when we look at what kind of a role a WBS will play in a project, right? So the first thing is that the WBS will define the scope of your project, right? So all the project tasks has to be accounted for, and your WBS will help you do it. And your WBS will be the foundation for all the estimates that you make in the project. You will be doing time estimates, you will be doing cost estimates, you will estimate how much of human resources you need, likewise. So these estimates will be based on the work breakdown structure that you do. And it also helps with the project's organization structure, right? So it will help you to identify how tasks are going to be related to one another and how the authority structure within the project works as well. Okay. So this is another WBS of the compliance project. Can you go through the project items? Read through the project items. Okay, so what do you get from this compliance project? So we have 4 main areas. You have the administration, you have the physical therapy, food and nutrition, and then the medical care. So you can see how they have broken down. Say, let's take food and nutrition into 4 stages, or the four planning processes maybe. We can review the state inspection report, state compliance standards, develop policies and procedures, then implement the evaluation and correction procedures in all area. So when we talk about developing policies, you have to develop corrective procedures, develop maintenance SOPs. So developing maintenance SOPs require planning, you have to prepare and delivery likewise. So if we go to another example of the home remodeling WBS, right? So here you can see how different, say, areas like carpentry, installing appliances, plumbing, electricity, countertops, painting, right? How each of these have been broken down further into areas. Right. So the next important part of doing this or developing the WBS is to come up with the responsibility charts. So this is basically where you combine the work breakdown structure with the organizational breakdown structure, right? So this will be a table with WBS as the row headings, right? And the OBS, or the organizational breakdown structure, as the column headings, right? So every table element will have a code, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, which will talk about the response, whether a person is responsible, or is he going to be consulted, is it going to be notified, or is he the person who is giving the final approval likewise. And so in this, the rows of your responsibility matrix will have the person or the functional, say, positions. Columns can have the work, task, or packages, right? So this is useful when you are monitoring and controlling the entire project. So this is the kind of, say, responsibility matrix that you will see. So you have the artifacts on one side, and you have the people on the other side, or the roles on the other side, right? So here there are 3 categories for any artifact. There's 3 situations. So you can either be writing, or you be responsible for the artifact. You will be contributing or reviewing the artifact, or you will be formally accepting. So when you look at artifacts like the vision, the use case model, software architecture document, use case specifications, all are going to be formally accepted by the project owner, right? You take the use case model. In the use case model, it is going to be written, or the responsibility is with the systems analyst, while the users and the project manager, they are going to be contributing and reviewing the use case models. Okay, so this type of a responsibility matrix will help you to identify which role or which person is going to be, say, taking care, will be responsible to write or to contribute or formal acceptance about a certain artifact in the project. So this is another example that we can take. So you have in your WBS, you have the sub-project, determine the need. You have 2 tasks, A1, A2, solicit quotations, B1, write appropriate request, C1, C2, C3. Okay, so in the project office, you have 4 people. You have the project manager, contract administration, project engineer, industrial engineer. So out of these people who are going to be, we will look at who is going to be responsible, who is going to support the task, and who needs to be notified about it, and who is going to provide the approval. So if we look at soliciting the quotations, we can see that the project manager is the person who will provide the approval. Contract administration needs to be notified, and the project engineer is the person who is going to be responsible for the task. So this is another way that we can develop the responsibility matrix. You have the elements of your WBS on the rows. You have the personnel on the columns. So here they have used a numbering system from 1 to 6, right? 1 is actual responsibility. You have general supervision. 3 must be consulted. 4 may be consulted. 5 must be notified. 6 is final approval. So based on what the role is, you will have who is going to be responsible and to what level. Let's say, for example, establishing the interface specifications, right? So here you can see the actual responsibility is with the engineering manager, right? So this will, general supervision will be provided by the general manager, and the project manager must be consulted. And in addition, the software manager, manufacturing manager, and marketing manager, if needed, they can be consulted about the activities. Okay. Okay. So when we are producing a work breakdown structure, you need to how are we going to break down the project work, right? So you need to do, in order to do that, you have to envision what the project's deliverables are. So you have to list all the major jobs that you need in order to achieve every deliverable in your project. And then every major job will be broken down into smaller component tasks, right? So you continue this task of breaking down the jobs further until you have come to a level where you have the required level of detail, right? So that you will be able to plan and estimate the resources, time, cost, as well as the risk. So in WBS, the technique that we are using is decomposition. So decomposition will be done with through a collaboration between the project team, the customers, as well as the subject matter experts. So they will come together in order to decide how this work needs to be broken down. So first they will identify the major project deliverables, and then they will assign codes to each of the WBS components. So you will have different levels. So level 0 will be the project itself. At level 1, you have the major deliverables. At level 2, you have individual components for every deliverable. And at the final level, this is where you will get the work packages, right? This is the most detailed level of the work where you get the work package. So what is this work package? So a work package is the lowest level of the WBS, right? And it will contain activities for a very short duration. Usually the work that can be completed within 1 or 2 weeks, right? So there, in certain cases, they have an 80-hour rule, right? So they will only include work that can be completed within 80 hours within one work package. So it should not be longer than the usual reporting period. So work package activities should be able to be completed by one person or a very small team of maybe 2 or 3 people, right? So all the work packages should be similar in size or similar in effort. When I say similar in size, it can be have similar cost, or it can be have similar same time zones, right? And the effort that you have to put can be similar as well. And it will, so the work package, once you define it, it will be an input when you are doing the scheduling as well as the budget development. So what we use in order to develop our other subsidiary plans, like the cost estimates, the time estimates, likewise, will be these work packages, the lowest layer or the lowest level of your work breakdown structure. These activity work packages is what we will use for that purpose. Do I have in the chat box? Attendance sheet, I am not sure. You will have to ask Ms. Kalhari. I will ask her. Okay, I will ask her. Okay. Right. Then the when you look at the WBS numbering system, so we usually use a numbering system like this. So level 0, we don't put a number, we just mention the project name here. But from level 1 onwards, every project deliverable or stage that we use will use the numbering 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, likewise. Attendance sheet has been sent. So when you go to level 2, we start with 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, likewise. The level 3 will have 1.11, 1.12, likewise. Okay. So there are different templates that can be used when we are developing the work breakdown structure. And there are softwares like Microsoft Visio, right? You can show it in a hierarchical form, or Microsoft Project helps you to display the work breakdown structure as a table. So here they use the Gantt chart, right? They use the Gantt chart in order to show it in a tabular form. So how much activity or detail is required in this WBS? So it has to be your work packages, that's the smallest one. It needs to be performed by one person or a well-defined group, right? It has to have a single and clearly identified deliverable, right? And has a known method or technique that you're going to use. And it has to have a well-defined predecessor and successor, which means you need to know what activity has to be completed before it and what activity can be started after it, right? So where does this particular activity appear in the order that your activities are going to be performed? And you should be able to measure so that the level of completion can be determined, whether the task or the activity package has been completed or not. And this is usually for a shorter duration measured in terms of hours or days. So as I said, you can use templates and documentation from similar past projects when you are doing this. Right? Right. So your work breakdown structure, as we discussed, we start from the project charter, then we develop the scope statement, and this scope statement is what we use when we are developing the work breakdown structure, right? And this will be the input into your activity definition, your resource planning, the cost estimating, cost budgeting, as well as your risk management planning. So you can further refer to the project management body of knowledge guide and read more about how the WBS contributes. So in PMI, they have defined the structure as follows. So at the very beginning, you have at the top, you have the project, and these other elements that follow are called WBS elements. And the lowest level in our work breakdown structure, we call them work packages. And these work packages can be further broken down into activities, and each activity can also be broken down into further tasks. So you can show it in this manner. At the top, you have the project, right? Then you have the phases of the project, phase 1, 2, 3. Then under phase 1, then the WBS element will be named as WBS 1.1, then 1.2. Under phase 2, you will have WBS 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Likewise, this is the numbering system. So this is a sample of an intranet project. So can you take the same example and try to do the numbering? How will your numbering appear? Can you try to do that and send it on the chat box? It will not take a lot of time, I think. Maybe about 5-10 minutes. Can you do the numbering of this WBS? Okay, I have received a couple of answers. Website design. What about the others? Okay, so this is how you will be numbering the activities here. Your concept will be 1.1, sorry, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and 5.0. Then under everything under website design will come under as 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Under website development, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. Right? So this is how the numbering will be done. Okay, I'm sure it is clear on how the numbering goes ahead. Any questions up to now? Okay. Right. Okay. I think I will have to go back and come. Right. So your standard work breakdown structure, as I said, if we start with 1.0, so the first ones, in this example, the first two stages are pre-project activities, and after that only you will start the project specific activities. Okay. So these will be decomposed further. So you can also do this as we say, for example, in a new product introduction project, how you're going to do the stock, the packaging, sales, the distribution, and advertising. These are the activities that you will be performing, or say the areas that will be involved in introducing a new product to the market. So if it is an IT system, right, there can be a standard that you usually use. So we start with phase 1 of the project, then activity 1 of phase 1, then you have task 1 of activity 1.1, step 1, 2, likewise, you can go into the required level of detail. Okay. So do you have any questions about the WBS that you want to ask or discuss? Any doubts or clarifications? I have another video that I want to show you. Let me share that. Refresh this.
Are you confused about work breakdown structure and want to know how it works? By the end of this video, I'm going to teach you all about work breakdown structure in project management. And if you want to be a project manager rock star, well then wait till the end of this video because I'm going to give you an amazing download that's going to give you some awesome tips on how to ensure your projects don't fail. Hi, if you're new here, welcome. For the best career and project management advice, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button, and a brand new video is going to come to you every Wednesday. As someone who has created many work breakdown structures for different industries, I can tell you the solid benefit of having a really good WBS for project success. So I'm going to teach you today what it is, why you need one, and an example too. So if you're excited about this, like this video, and let's get to it. So what is a WBS? No, it is not work bull bleep. Okay, it's not that. It actually is an acronym for work breakdown structure. And it's like an organizational hierarchical chart if I were to do a comparison. What you really want to do is you want to take a deliverable and you want to break it down into manageable chunks. And that's what the WBS does for you. It's an awesome technique whenever you need to take something very complex and simplify it so that you can actually deliver to it. Work breakdown structure layout. Think of it like an org chart, and I have an example for you, so let me show you. So this is a really good visual of what I was just talking about regarding how a WBS is laid out, like an org chart. So like an org chart, your top level would be your CEO or your president, as we have here, but for the WBS, it's actually the project goal. It could be a deliverable, a department. You can break it up whatever you want, but it's really ultimately, if you were to complete everything, what is it that you're delivering? And that's what would be in that particular area. Now, you would break it down just like an org chart. You have your president, and then you have your VPs or your directors, and it's the same thing here. Your level 2 would be major activities. So whatever that deliverable may be or department activity, you would break out the major activities. I like to call them the really large buckets. And then you go down to level 3. So these are either milestone activities within that major one. They could be even a further breakdown of activities. And last but not least, you have your level 4. Those individuals, if you really were to compare it to an org chart, it would be those who were the doers. It's the tasks, it's the orientation. So that's what your level 4 would be. So when you have a project, really break it down in this manner. It's a super easy way to get a handle on the amount of work you have to do and to truly understand if you have your scope correct, your timing correct, etc. So really break things down with your layout in a WBS with level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Work breakdown structure example. So I have an example here for you on a construction project. Okay, so now let's actually take a look at an example, because when you see it, as you can see what I have in front of you right now, it really makes a lot of sense. So that level 1, what is our deliverable? It's building a house. Now you can only imagine how complex this can be. So what are our level 2s? Well, with this particular way it was broken up, it was in design, structural, utilities, finishing. And now this is where the level 3, there's even more you could break down within that level 2. And so if you take a look, for example, with design, decide on your plans, make changes. Let's take a look at some utilities. So you have your plumbing and your electrical and your HVAC. Now, one more level that is not shown here is your level 4s. So underneath plumbing, you're going to have tons of tasks just to get all the plumbing. One would be take a look at your plan and get a list of all your plumbing materials, go to the store or put in the order for your plumbing materials, pick up the order from the plumbing materials, schedule in your plumbers in order to put in the material. Do you see what I mean? There's a lot that you can do here, but it just shows you how you can break things down, as I like to say, in manageable chunks. Other cool things about a work breakdown structure. All right, the first thing is you can take this structure that you just created and translate it into an action plan. It is an amazing tool and technique to do this and actually pull out all your action items. So something that I highly recommend that you do. Another cool thing about WBS is it actually can bring accountability to your team members, because this is something that you should be doing with them. And last but not least, use it as an activity, creating and finalizing your WBS, particularly if you create it into a project plan, at your kickoff meeting. So cool, this tool. It is so important to project management because you use it throughout the life cycle of a project. Now that you understand all about work breakdown structures, it is time to go even deeper into your understanding of project management, and that is this: why projects fail. You need to ensure that this does not happen. So go to the link below and grab this document. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, share it with all the people that you know.
Okay. So we have a small tutorial that has been uploaded on the Google Classroom. I will try to share this on the chat box as well. Let me see. Yeah, bye. Okay, the tutorial file is available on the chat in the chat box if you cannot find it from the Google Classroom. So please read the case very carefully and try to answer the questions that are given. I will share it on the screen as well. Okay. So here you have the project scenario of the Smart Campus Initiative. You have been given the project scope, what is included in it, right? And the key stakeholders and what are the constraints. So you have to develop a work breakdown structure for this initiative project. Right. So here you need to create a hierarchical WBS with at least 3 to 4 levels. You need to use the deliverable oriented approach. That means you have to focus on what, not how, and include all the project scope elements and apply the 100% rule. Make sure you have complete coverage of the project, and use the right WBS numbering as well, and try to decompose to the work package level. They are appropriate. Okay, so this is your assignment. You can take about half an hour and try to develop the work breakdown structure, and then you can send in the answers. Do you have any questions about the assignment or what we have discussed today? If you have any questions, please feel free to type them on the chat box.
No.
So I think I have received a couple of answers. Can you please try to draw this in a hierarchical manner instead of just putting 1.0, 1.1 likewise. Try to draw it as a diagram. So in your answer, make sure that you have addressed all the elements given in the scope, right? It has to include all the elements that are in the scope. Please, the people who have submitted, please revisit your answers and see whether how you can improve it further. I see that there are only some of the elements have been, addressed, not all. Okay. So I hope all of you must have attempted this. I will try to upload a model answer for you all, so that you can take a look at that. Do you have any questions about today's topic on the work breakdown structure? Any doubts that you want to clear? Will you have such kind of questions in the exam? You mean to draw a WBS? I don't think you will have to draw a WBS, but you will need to know why we use the WBS, how do we develop it, what are the approaches, and how do we use it for other plans, right? So those things you will need to know, but I don't think you will be asked to draw a WBS in the exam. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, the answer I will upload it to the Google Classroom. Then you can get it. Okay then. If there aren't any other questions, yes, we can wrap up the session. Thank you so much and have a good night.